you're coming to us. Depending on where you're coming to us from, my name is Robert Wooden. My pronouns are he, him. I'm the Director of Management Career Services here at Dalhousie University in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where we oversee approximately 1,000 paid work terms annually. This presentation is version 2.0. We did this at the CWIL conference in June with these three amazing employer partners, and I'm going to use that opportunity just to give a quick plug for CWIL 2026. Which is happening in Ottawa, May 19th to 22nd. So we love to see our practitioners at the event. And if you're thinking maybe you'd like to be a presenter at that conference, you have until November the 15th to visit cwilconference.ca. And there's information there on how you can submit a conference proposal. We love seeing lots of great diverse conference submissions, and our program committee will evaluate them. So enough promotional time. Let's dig into the amazing humans that I have on this call here with us today, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. So we will start with the person on my immediate right, which is Tenzin. Tenzin, want to introduce yourself, please, sir?
Thank you, Robert. And thank you again for the opportunity to connect with you and connect with all the folks here online today. My name is Tenzin Zongdho. I'm with the early talent team at RBC. My role is supporting technology and operations and the functional group within RBC. In terms of length in the business, I'm going to say decades, working with students and new graduates, but more recently in the last 7 years at RBC with the early talent team.
Thanks, Tenzin. Michelle, you'll go next, please.
All right. Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. And thanks again, Robert, for the opportunity to be part of the panel. So my name is Michelle Reyes. My pronouns are she and her. I am the senior manager for our campus recruitment team at Loblaw Companies Limited and all the other subsidiaries under Loblaw. I've been with Loblaw for 4 years now, but with early talent and early careers for like Tenzin, I'm going to say a couple decades as well. But my background actually is coming from the post-secondary sector. So I started my career in early talent working with the school. So I have this very, very weird affiliation with multiple schools. I either went to the school or I worked at the school. So I won't name names yet, but very much love the early talent space, as you can tell. I've been in it for my entire career. I just want to stay in that early talent side. Yeah, very excited to be here to share a little bit more on the employer side and kind of how things are changing, but also kind of connect it back to knowing that all of you work very closely with students and what does that mean and how we can help support. So thanks very much.
Thanks so much. So in Hamilton, we had Tenzin and Michelle with us, and we had a third colleague who was from KPMG, and that was Jocelyn. But life happens, and Jocelyn decided to have a baby. So we have a pitch hitter in for Jocelyn from KPMG. I'd like to welcome Angela, please.
Thank you. What a nice group to be with. And Michelle, I totally agree with you. It's really nice to be part of a community who cares about early talent. And I seem to not be able to get away from it as well. So nice to meet everyone. My name is Angela and I'm from KPMG. And currently I am a talent attraction leader for 20 of our offices in Ontario and Atlantic, supporting both campus and experience. But I think from like an early talent perspective, I am a campus hire, to KPMG. I've been, so I'm a CPA turned HR professional, so I've been in this campus recruiting space for 9 years now, but I have been a career educator at a post-secondary and led campus teams in the Toronto office and nationally before stepping into this role. So I'm just super excited to be joining the conversation as, I guess, from an employer's perspective this afternoon or morning, depending on where you are.
Thanks so much, Angela. And how lucky are we to have these three amazing professionals join us today? So we do have some prepared questions that I'm going to go through with our panel, but I also want to allocate time for you. So we have the chat open. I'm going to ask you during the presentation if you have some urgent question and maybe it isn't on our list of questions or something, or if you want us to do a follow-up on something that I didn't hit on, throw it in the chat. And as depending on how much volume I get in the chat, I may just decide, hey, I'm not going to give these guys the prepared questions. I'm going to hit them with some questions coming from our audience, which always makes the dialogue so much more enjoyable. So the chat's there for you all to access at any point in time with what burning question you have. So I welcome you to use that. So we're going to dig right in. So the first question, shouldn't be a surprising answer, but we're going to talk about in-person virtual events and specifically about brand building. So 3 large companies, well known to consumers. In the case of Loblaws, we have our stores, retail banking with RBC, and then we have a global 4 accounting firm. So these aren't unknown organizations, but how do you do brand building for your employer brand? And what activities are you doing in terms of in-person virtual versus or in conjunction with virtual? And I'm open to any of the 3. Angela, you're the big one on the screen first because you spoke last. So why don't I ask you to kick it off?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I first want to acknowledge that having both types of engagement is super important. The reason is because virtual type of oh, maybe Cynthia, don't mind muting yourself. I was just going to say that having the virtual component is super important on one side is because we want to make sure we're reaching students with our brand, information about our company and our recruitment process. And we know that life happens with students as well. They may have a part-time job, they can't be, in person with our events and whatnot. So something that KPMG does from a virtual perspective, obviously we could have virtual information sessions, but we also run these Forge programs online, which is called Experience a Day with KPMG, both from audit and tax perspective. So that's how we keep the brand and the information going. But I'm sure Michelle and Tenzin would agree, like the magically happens in person, right? Like that's when the student really gets to experience our culture, connect, get to know our people. And obviously we run lots of different events with your career centers, with the student associations at your schools. We run our own information sessions, probably variously with coffee chats, like workshops. Honestly, that's like where the magic can really happen and we can really co-create together. So I think that's what I want to say from a KPMG perspective, Robert.
So both are necessary. And fun fact, my daughter is a KPMGer, and her first engagement with KPMG was in 2020 during COVID, so it was virtual. So anyways, who wants to build on what Angela offered? Tenzin, I know you've been on the road a little bit because I saw you in Halifax just recently. So certainly doing some in-person. Anything you want to comment on in terms of what Angela already threw down for us?
Yeah, I'll echo what Angela shared. We've like it or not, we've adopted a new tool, and the tool is helpful. So virtual events to reach a broader audience, and then also making that into person touch. And we were at Dalhousie last week, and we felt that we were not on campus enough, so we made more of a pointed tour this fall, West Coast, East Coast, local schools, so to reach back out to the students and have that personal touch.
Lost my mute button. Sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
I was going to say, you want me to jump in? I'll jump in.
If you got something to add, go for it.
Yeah, I just want to share that I think I echo all the comments that Angela made as well, just in terms of both are being very important. I think Loblaw in particular, so I have the sheer pleasure of operating campus recruitment as if I'm actually supporting 5 or 6 different organizations. So Loblaw is very complex. We have companies like Shoppers, Joe Fresh, PC Financial, like all under the same banner. And as campus recruitment, I tow the Loblaw banner. So from a branding perspective, kind of twofold, I need to explain the Loblaw, but I also need to have students understand that there are different areas underneath Loblaw, that some do have different engagement opportunities, different ways of connecting with students. But I echo Angela's comment around the different ways of engagement, the student clubs that we host our own information sessions, we'll go to campus. But the virtual piece is very important for us because for us, I think a little bit different from RBC and KPMG, our main offices are very located at a very specific location, right? So we are primarily in Ontario, but we do have opportunities, maybe not necessarily on the corporate side of Ontario, but outside of that. So there's just a lot that we're trying to communicate. So we do rely on the virtual piece to start in terms of getting the message out. But I will say for Loblaw that we tend to work very closely with the different business units and banners to try to beef up that in-person engagement. So you will often see us coming to campus. We might be representing a particular group at the time, just because that's the group that is either most engaged, available, but know that we will always speak to the holistic view of Loblaw. There is always someone on campus or from campus that will be there to help support those other questions. But definitely that's something we continue to work on, is trying to set a wide umbrella, but yet, get to those in-person events like Angela mentioned, where we know those connections are made.
So certainly business requirements such as competitive space of recruiting pharmacists for shoppers per se. They'd be at the Dal Pharmacy School, but maybe they wouldn't attend a Dalhousie-based career fair per se. Operational requirements impact.
Exactly. Or a different business unit would come, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, so it's always kind of keeping that in mind. We're complex to a fault, I find sometimes, and having to educate students. It is hard. I mean, even me trying to explain it to someone, it takes a while until you've really realized just the complexity around it. But functionally, which is where my message is, and I'm sure Tenzin and Angela can maybe say the same thing. Functionally, in terms of the type of student, the background we're looking for, there's so many opportunities, right? So it's educating students on that as well.
Okay, let's move on. We've heard about info sessions, career fairs, virtual events, and so on, all the sort of things I think each of you are doing in some manner. What's something new that you're doing in the space to identify talent? I've heard student clubs. What's something new? Tenzin?
Robert? Yeah, maybe you saw us in action last week at Dalhousie. It's more of an application tool that will help us register our students when they could come to our events. And with that, there's some components built in to allow our members to actually I'll choose evaluate, the students we meet. The nice part about this is it works in with our ATS and it allows us to see the students. We just rolled it out this summer and allowed us to keep track of the students that we met on the road. Sometimes it's a little bit harder to do when we're meeting so many students and we're going right across too many campuses. This is more of a tracking piece through the registration, but also allowing us to register when they're there. The tool also allows us to as I should have mentioned, to evaluate, so we can keep
So you're not just looking
engaging.
to get your students out to an event, you're looking to understand who's there, their names, their program, their year of graduation. Are they a co-op student or a work integrated learning student or not? What program level, undergrad, graduate? Those are the type of things that you're looking to understand. And then you can put, I think you said evaluate. So your recruiters, your people in the room are able to put information on, oh, I met this person named Michelle and she was amazing and stuff. And I want to keep track of her. I'm going to put a little bit of intelligence about her down. Is that what you're outlining for me?
Yeah, and I think it's everybody who's been in that recruitment space always wanted something like this, right? Do we put that business card in our right pocket or left pocket? To where do we put the dog ear on the resume? And now you have something digitally and something that you can use. Now we have to get used to this tool. We have to get better at how we use it and when we use it at events. But it has allowed for some efficiencies on our part. Yeah.
Great. Angela or Michelle, anything new? Anything
Yeah.
so new that maybe you don't want to tell us about, but I'm going to ask you to tell us about this anyway.
Well, what I wanted to offer wasn't necessarily new, because I do think some things were lost during COVID, but we're trying to bring certain aspects back that obviously makes sense for 2025, right? So something that we're really leaning into is, how can we answer the question to students? What are you going to get out of this? Like, why should you participate? What's in it for you? So something that I know the team did really well this summer is bring back or rebrand KPMG Community Impact Day. So not only getting to know KPMG as an organization, but let's volunteer together. Let's kind of dive into this other value of ours. And then you can really get involved with our people, meet people, and experience KPMG in maybe in a more casual way while still networking. And so we're always trying to answer the question, well, why should a student attend? How does that differ from an info session? So reinventing or rethinking about our events and engagements in that way as well.
Super. Michelle, am I good to go on, or do you want to tap in something. Good to go on. Okay. So for the next question, I'm going to ask about 3 areas of recruitment, and I'm going to ask our 3 panelists to put their actual hand up if they're using these in their recruitment processes. So the first one we're going to talk about in terms of early talent space, put your hand up. Is your firm using GPA cutoffs? So do you cut off candidates to move to be screened out based on a GPA? Yes. If yes, put your hand up. Question 2. Okay, I got a half. We'll come back to that. We got half a hand from Angela. Okay. I should write that down. Half a hand. Okay. Question 2. Hand up if your organization has target versus non-target schools. Okay. Got a hand. Okay. 2. Okay. And Angela likes that half hand, I got to tell you.
I like
she does.
my, just using my 2.5 fingers clearly.
Okay, so we're definitely going to talk on that because we got all 3 in that one. Third one, pre-interview assessments. Who's using pre-interview assessments? Whether they're written interview or whether asynchronous assessment. Tenzin had a hand, Michelle had a half.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So in those 3 areas, Angela, I'm going to pick on you first to speak about GPA cutoffs, please.
Yeah.
Because you gave me half a hand.
Yeah, I gave half a hand is because we hire a lot of accountants, and accountants need to go through the CPA process. And so the grade cutoffs are not dictated by KPMG, they're actually dictated by CPA Canada. And the cutoff isn't very high, if you're looking at the CPA Canada website and whatnot. So that's why I gave half a hand. But what I really want to offer is that we do look at the candidate or the student as a whole person, and not just a resume or a transcript or a cover letter is going to pass the process. We need to evaluate everything. But that's the reason why I put half a hand, because we do hire lots of accountants.
Perfect. All right, everyone had some level of their hand up on target versus non-target schools. So I think Tenzin, you were first. I'm going to ask you to comment on that one first, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna use this word loosely in terms of target. We can't be at every school all the time. It's just impossible. In terms of our job postings, we go right across Canada, all the schools. But there are schools where we do have good success with, or there are schools that have certain programs that align nicely with some of our groups that have needs. So in those cases, yes, we do. We are specific with the schools and the programs that we engage with. So it's not, completely targeted or completely non-targeted, but there has to be that mixture. And it's just the volumes that of students that come into us and the different programs that we have.
And Tenzin, you've done work specifically in recruiting at the master's level, and certainly there are more specialized master's programs where I'm going to assume you've seen, I'm going to target university A and B because I knew students coming out of this specialty master's program do particularly well in this type of job function or this line of business.
Correct. And the specialized master's programs usually have a certain, they're not available for fall co-op programs, but they're available usually for winter or summer. So we have to be there when they're available because it's a really short run program. It's like 12 or 16 months. So we have to be there when the students are available as well. Yeah.
That's the trend in master's programs, not 24 anymore. They're all moving down to 12. Okay, Michelle, you had your hand up as well about target versus non-target. Why don't we jump in?
Yeah, I'm just going to echo everything that Tenzin said. It's exactly the same way here. I think more emphasis for us with the specialty programs because, as I mentioned, the complexity of the different business units that we have or brands. So again, you mentioned the Shoppers or the Joe Fresh, for example, right? Certain schools that have that very specific program. But I do echo as well the timing. So the interesting thing about Loblaw right now is we don't have a formal new grad program. That is still in the works. So we do look, or a lot of the business units will look at our co-op program as that pipeline into conversion into full-time headcount. And so sometimes, depending on the business unit, to Tenzin's point, is looking at when the students are available. And so, if the program and the background is there, and then the timing works out, that tends to be maybe a bit more of a preferred program because it just works with our recruitment needs and our recruitment timelines as well.
Great, Angela, anything to add?
No, I was like nodding as Tenzin was speaking. I'm like very aligned, so nothing further to add.
He's pretty comprehensive, isn't he? I should have him on a panel. Okay, Tenzin and I have done this before. We met actually on a panel many years ago. Pre-interview assessments.
Oh, I can start with that one because I know I put half. So we don't have a formal assessment per se in terms of like questions that we ask, sorry, or formal interview, things like that. But we do have a questionnaire. So we do when students do apply to certain roles, because we have a very specific either we ask the questions around the timing, the dates, the office locations, just because again with the complexity of the different roles. So that's why I kind of put half. So there is some kind of an assessment tool, but we still go through the applications as a whole. So it's not that assessment is really more for us to help versus is it putting a student in one pile or another, for example.
Okay, Angela or Tenzin?
Nothing to add. No.
Tenzin?
Yeah, nothing else. Yeah.
Okay, so at this point, I'll do a plug. I got 2 questions in the chat. We'll welcome more. So if there's something you're thinking about, don't be shy. There's 4 of us, 5 of us counting Jenny. There's 54 smart will practitioners in this room. I'm actually flabbergasted. I've only had 2 questions so far come from the queue. So I will get to them after we go through a few more. We had loads of questions in Hamilton, so hope to have a few more pop in there. All right. Let's get into something very topical. Jenny told me earlier there was a learning and development session that Seawell did that was on AI that was very popular, and this question relates to that. So how are your organizations using AI in the recruitment process? Are we seeing AI screening tools, maybe something on your career website, or bots to help with the administrative processes? And I know from Hamilton, we talked about this. Michelle had something to say for sure. So Michelle, if you're comfortable, I'll ask you to go first.
Yeah, 100%. So Loblaw, earlier this year in January, we did implement a tool on our back-end career site called Paradox. So Loblaw, we work under the Workday HRIS system, Workday ATS system, and then Paradox is a tool which we found out Workday bought, Paradox. So Paradox sits on top of Workday and is basically an AI tool. So when you go to our careers website right now, our lovely friend Alex will pop up, which is our chat bot, and is supporting the application process. So right now, in full transparency, we use Alex mostly at the franchise level. So when we are, sorry, at the store level, when we are hiring for colleagues at the store level, it has done wonders in terms of the efficiency, the kind of the recruitment process, the time to fill rates for our colleagues at the store, because all the recruitment, especially if it's a franchise store, will be done at the store level. For us at corporate, slowly being implemented, but it is right now, all applications do have to go through Alex. So when you are looking to apply for a job and you click on the apply button, Alex will walk you through the application process. So asking you for terms and conditions, and then asking for name, and then a few different questions. So depending on the job, it will ask you very job specific questions. For example, at the store level, it actually puts candidates through a full behavioral assessment. So it does use that to help the recruitment decision. I will say for campus though, again, and again, still mostly at the corporate level, Alex and the AI bot is used to take in the application. There is no sorting at this point. There is no assessing. It is just using to get the candidate into the Workday system so that a recruiter can then turn around and review resumes and go from there. So, but that is to come. The capability is there, and we are exploring that more as we start to get more familiar with the tool. But yeah, so definitely AI, something we are using more, and more to come for sure.
So the risk is lower for me to trial out using an AI tool when I'm making a hiring decision on an hourly produce clerk versus I'm hiring a new accounting clerk to work 100% in head office, that type of thing, right? But I'm
Correct.
sure you're very carefully evaluating how the tool is working and then looking at the performance metrics of those part-time, higher churn employees and that type of stuff to see if the application Paradox can be more rolled out in an evaluative method as
Exactly.
opposed to just a data gathering method at this point.
Exactly. And to be honest, a lot of it is the systems, right? It's trying to connect the systems because we still live under Workday. Paradox just sits under that tool. So, so we're working on it, but it is, I think the message to understand for everyone is that the capability is there.
Is there.
So it is just a matter of turning it on and what does that look like? And again, we're still looking through that, but we are using it at the store level. So we have seen the success. Yeah.
Has anyone navigated to the Loblaw's career website during this presentation at this point to check out with Alex?
To
Okay.
talk to Alex?
No,
Go
no
talk
one's
to
going to
Alex.
admit if they are or not, but I'm sure you're going to get a couple of hits from this session, Michelle. Great. Thank you for the insight there. Tenzin and Angela, thinking back to how the conversation went in Hamilton, I think you're using AI, but you want to give us some insight in terms of maybe Tenzin, how it is being used at RBC in a limited manner?
Yeah, it's very limited. I was actually going to say almost not yet in terms of AI, not yet being, yeah, it is going to be adopted down the road for all organizations, just for the efficiency it brings forward. Right now, part of that tool that I mentioned earlier, where we're registering students, and that does have that component. So it will be there down the road, and I'm sure we'll work through the kinks that Michelle is going through and we'll also have those high volumes where recruitment where that will come into play. But I see it as yeah, it's just a matter of time before there's adoption there.
The smart organization may hire someone like a Michelle or someone of her colleagues who've been implementing Alex over at Loblaw to bring that knowledge over into another organization. I'm just saying there might be opportunities there. I'm not trying to move you away from Loblaw, Michelle. Uh, right? But yeah, it's certainly coming. So, but you are using AI in terms of the recruitment process of your recruiters working more efficiently, your recruiters doing functional work, administrative work more efficiently, but not that the candidate experience is being seen with an AI tool or being evaluated by it, right? You're obviously using it in some form, just not direct with the candidate.
Was that to me, Robert?
That was to you. Yep. Just
Oh,
confirming.
okay.
There's no,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So not even at that elevated level that you just spoke about either. It's just right now there's more of the human face and human factor in there. Um, but the tool is there. The tool is being tested, and it's just a matter of when we'll get into some pilots and start using it. Yeah.
Okay. Angela, you spoke a lot about getting to know the candidates and so on, and the importance of that. Any use of AI in the recruitment process at this point for KPMG?
No, not really from like a selection evaluative process. It's still very human led, which I think is really important because I think there's a lot of, as Michelle said, like we need to test through it. We do have capabilities within the firm from like administrative perspective, right? So that's been great, but there are things probably down the line, but nothing to note at this point from a campus perspective.
Perfect. So I'm going to build on that question a little bit. I'm sure lots of us have seen on our social channels, the promotion of the app where the guy's doing an interview and he takes his phone, he throws it up on the screen, right? And it's listening to the questions coming from the recruiter and then he's reading it back. Why don't each of you comment briefly for me on, do you or your recruitment teams, have you had those experiences with our students where you just know, I'm not interviewing the authentic person here. I'm being regurgitated information that's coming out of an app. Have you as an individual recruiter doing interviewing, or have people on your teams had those experiences? And when you run into that experience, how do you deal with it? Do you call the student out about it? Do you just scratch them off your list? So when you're suspecting that a student is leveraging generative AI to give back what they think you want, how has things been going? I know Tenzin, you and I had a brief conversation. You had an example of that. Do you want to kick it off?
Sure, sure. And it actually happened, was it last week or yeah, time's just running by fast. But I actually was conducting the interview and I think I have seen that video where the person puts that phone on the screen as well.
Throws it on the screen.
Yes. So people are getting better at the craft. Some people know how to do that quite well. And then, of course, having said that, we're going to get better at that craft as well, the recruiters and the interviewers as well, and set parameters down the road, I'm sure. But in this particular case, yeah, the conversation went from a natural conversation to one where they were either side glancing or taking time to respond to me. And that was with my first interview type question to the candidate. So I had to stop it right there. And I said, look, you and I have to have this natural conversation. You have to look at me. Are you able to go forward with that? Because I want to know you, and I need to, there's certain questions that I also need to ask you from this interview. So then the format changed, right? His demeanor changed, his responses changed. He's no longer taking time to side glance. So that put him in an awkward position in itself, because it was a candidate that I would say seasoned in attempt, somebody who was a little bit at that graduate level, master's level, and you would think that person would have that insight not to do something like that. And I only bring that up because I think it is the undergraduate students who are good at the craft and they know where to place the phone and they know how to respond, where this person may have taken advantage of a tool but is not ready for prime time to really execute with the tool. So I couldn't say for 100% sure that the person was cheating, but that mannerism just threw me off as an interviewer, and we had to bring the conversation, had to bring the interview back to our conversations for me to vocalize that. So yeah, just as we're going to be using AI within the organization, students are using it, students are getting better at it, and we do see it play out, and some are good at it and some are not very good at it. Yeah.
Mhm. Michelle or Angela, any other comments about the student use of AI in the recruitment process?
I guess what I want to comment on, AI is everywhere, right? We know students are using it to probably write their resumes or edit their resumes, which we can't run away from. I think that's just a reality of the world that we're in. But I do think it's really important to remind the students, yeah, maybe you can get noticed, your resume can get noticed in the process, but what gets you the job is the interview. Like, are you able to tell your story? Are you able to share your achievements? Are you able to connect with the interviewer? And AI don't know you. They can't be you. So while it could be a tool, it could be really helpful to maybe kickstart, you need to go in and so do the work and edit and know yourself and own that conversation. So I guess this is more of a comment to those who maybe coach students in the process. I think that's really important.
Super. Michelle?
Yeah, I echo the same thing. I think we're so even here at Loblaw, we have created our own internal like chat GPT tool, and we are encouraged to use it as colleagues in terms of making our work more efficient, right? So even when the students come in, it's something we talk about at the like right out of orientation. We do talk about it with our students, but I echo Angela's point is, we talk about it from a campus recruitment perspective, we talk about from an application perspective, but we also talk about it in their work. Right. So, AI can help to a degree, but at the end of the day, you are still going to speak or need to speak on the work that you're doing, the documents you're providing, things like that. So, yeah, so I think definitely that's more of the important message here, because to the point that was made, it's not going to go away. It's just going to get embedded more and more. But how do we be smart about using it?
Super. Thank you.
Robert, maybe I
Tenzin.
could add one more thing here, and it's
Yeah.
more on the because we have coaches here speaking to students, and that student group is in a different demographics, and they're so used to using AI, and they are so used to feeling comfortable with the tool. And I'll share more personal story here. Is I was having a conversation with my son, and he said, "Hey, half the class used AI for this take-home project, and they got 10% more, and I didn't, and I'm wondering, should I have used that, or should I?" And I'm trying to convince them that you shouldn't use it, because ultimately, as Michelle said, you have to go to the stage, and when you have to go to the stage, if you're not able to produce what you've shared in the past, then yeah, you're not going to be better set up. But he wasn't fully convinced. He said, "I'm going to have to think about what you just said, but I'm not sold on that." So I bring this up because our audience is working with students, first year students, second year students, and they have a thought process or a comfort level where they're using these tools as, hey, you know what, I can get by with it right now. I don't need to. Yeah, what if it helps me get into the door? What if it helps me get to that next stage? And I'll figure things out down the road. That may be the attitude, and that's where I think coaching is important for our students.
One more follow-up question based somewhat a little bit about what's in the chat. Do any of your organizations currently provide guidance or restrictions on the use of AI in the application process? Do your job postings say you're not to use it? Do your campus career websites say anything about it, giving guidelines about using AI within the recruitment process? When you send out the interview invitation, is there anything, is there an AI statement about using it or not using it? Anyone doing anything in that space?
We started to
I'm
talk about it. So this
Mhm.
conversation is leading me. I need to have more conversations about it. So thank you.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. So in the chat, if you check out the chat later on, Maurice put a link into an organization in terms of what they're doing to help candidates educate them on Gen AI. So you can have a peek at that. See, this is what's exciting about being in the space, right? We have people who are on the ground doing the work and so on, but then we have other people who are interacting with other organizations and students who can provide um, other points of view and so on. And Maurice just mentioned that they're also informing the applicant on how AI is used in the recruitment process, which I think is a very necessary thing to do. All right, let's go on to a word called pipeline. Who uses pipeline postings in any way? Angela, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I think I shared with you, Robert. I am not a fan of the pipeline posting. I guess my perspective is going to be why I don't think is a good idea.
And maybe
I
for our audience, just tell us
yeah,
what a pipeline posting is, because I didn't
yeah.
define it.
No, all good. Yeah. So I'm going to define it as like a generic pipeline posting, which means that maybe as an organization, I don't have a approved FTE to recruit, but I just want to see what's out there. I'm sort of trying to build attraction towards this type of role or type of function. And just see what I get. And maybe I can start some conversations from there. Or when I do get an approval, I can start the process. And I kind of start off with saying, I don't really like it. And the reason is because it's vague. I think from a student and employer perspective, it can have mismatched expectations. And I'm a firm believer, I don't like to send the client emails. The more I send and more tarnishes the brand, it gives that bad feeling vibe with the student. And so it's not really great for anybody. And so really where I want to help my team spend the time instead of doing these types of strategies is how can we spend more time to meet our students, right? Going back to the engagements, getting to know them. I think that's where it really matters versus feeling transactional.
Michelle or Tenzin, comment on pipeline postings? Michelle?
Um, yeah, I quickly I echo Angela's comment, especially when it comes to students. I think again here at Loblaw, because we're so complex, some of the teams rely on the pipeline posting just because it is a continual turnover of role. So it makes sense. But from a campus recruitment perspective, I agree. It's very interesting. Loblaw, we have, when I first started 4 years ago, we were all about pipeline. Like that was the mantra for the first 2 years that I was here. And with Paradox, actually, with the help of Paradox and shifting and a little bit of changeover in leadership and things like that, we're actually shifted now to building more of a talent community and educating the talent that yes, we want to keep you engaged, but to Angela's point, I don't want you to feel that you've applied to something and I don't have headcount, and then I'm sending you a decline, and then I'm asking you to apply to something else, because that's a real thing here at Loblaw in terms of headcount and approvals and when things are approved, even in the campus space, which drives me crazy. So I try to manage that. So I'm really happy to hear that we have moved to this talent community. It's still something very new for Loblaw. It's a shift. It's a mindset shift from a leadership and a talent team. But that's something that we're working on right now, and you'll start to see a little bit more of that coming out from us as we launch this talent community piece, which I know other companies have done an amazing job about. So I'm glad that we've shifted that way as well.
Yeah, certainly talent communities have been around for a while. Certainly in the space of our other two speakers, banks and Big Four accounting firms certainly have had them and so on. Tenzin, anything on pipeline, or am I good to go on to the next question?
Oh, we're good. We're good.
We're good. Okay.
Yeah.
So my three favorite words, rank and match. And I'm being sarcastic. What do you think about schools that use rank and match for paid will programs? Tenzin, you're on screen. You're the right now. I'll pick on you first.
Yeah, I'll almost repeat what I said in Hamilton. Yeah, it has to be equal for all students. That if we can get to a stage where all students can be rated, and then that will be the game changer. But right now, there are certain schools that have it. We have to adjust our schedule around that with the rank match. We you know, look for loopholes as well to get around that as well. And so is it helping? Is it helping the broader student community? No, it doesn't. So it does. It's a bit of a pain, but we work with what we have. We know the schools that have it, and yeah, it would be nicer to be at a state where we can be equal for all students. Like,
Okay, Angela or Michelle, rank and match.
Yeah, I would say I echo Tenzin's comments. I always like to go back to saying it doesn't probably feel like the real job market with rank and match. It does feel a little transactional. I know certain schools tell employers you can't talk to these students. There's a blackout period, but in reality, that's the time when the students can really ask questions and further understand what the offers they're getting and make an informed decision, knowing that at the age that they're at, they could be making decisions based on very interesting criteria. And I always like to say, well, knowledge is power. So you need the time to educate yourself. So I just wanted to anchor back to, yeah, it doesn't really feel like the job market when they're out of co-op or out of undergrad or et cetera. The other piece I really want to emphasize what Tenzin said is, yeah, the timelines don't align, right, with maybe our timelines, or every school has a different timeline. So Michelle, you may resonate with this, knowing that you have like Joe Fresh and shoppers. Like we also have lots of functions and teams and offices. I have to go to all my hiring partners to say, by the way, you're hiring from these schools, they have all these different dates. And so from like an organizational like alignment perspective, it's quite hard on the recruitment team. Yeah.
When I was an employer partner, I didn't particularly like rank and match, but as a career practitioner, I echo what you said, Angela. It's not real world. You're not going to go out and interview for a bunch of jobs and put some numbers by them, and that's where you're going to be. Like it just doesn't exist anywhere. So, Michelle, anything else to comment on rank and match?
No, I think the only thing I will say that I've noticed in the last year working with schools that have rank and match, to Tenzin's point, where we found loopholes, students have as well. So, students reaching out to us and rightfully so. Again, I will take this because I see both sides, right? Having worked in the post-secondary sector, having managed a program that came from rank and match. This is dating me back, but I was also in a co-op program and I did rank and match so I've seen that evolution, but ultimately 100% things are different, right? Things are different. The market is different. Employers are seeing that as different. So it is, I think, somewhat, we're putting those students in a difficult situation. How are they being coached? What are they hearing? It's confusing for them. And they're also finding ways to try to work around it. Because at the end of the day, right, it's trying to coach them the way it's going to be when they are done that program. So yeah, just want to echo that.
Yeah. One of my marketing tactics to market our program is I'll ask a new employer partner who works in co-op. I'll say, "Oh, and are you familiar with rank and match?" And they always sort of, the body language changes and it's never in a positive way. And then my next line is, "We don't do that."
Yeah.
And they're always very pleased. So for those of you that happen to run rank and match, I mean, the world is changing and stuff. So, but I do understand there's efficiencies and there's reasons for it and stuff. But certainly, three large organizations today that are pointing out some reasons why rank and match may not be appropriate as much as it once was. All right, I have another question on my prepared list, but I'm going to go and hit the chat because we can have a bunch of different things here. So I'm going to go up first and ask the three of you about career fairs. Employers seem to be a little more reluctant. Are personalized info sessions preferred by your organizations? And how far in advance do you want to be notified by events? So just for the three of you, physical hand up, do you still do career fairs? Angela so Tenzin, you were at one like last week, so I know you do a
say,
career.
we did do one.
You did do one.
One.
One. So it's dying a bit. Michelle, any career fairs?
The specialty programs only.
Specialty programs only. How far in
Yeah.
advance do you like to be notified about on-campus events? So maybe there's a mixer, there's a networking event, there's some opportunity for your people to be on campus with other organizations that are hiring students. How far in advance is optimal?
I can take that one to start. Ideally, and I know this is not always reality, but a term in advance. would be helpful. And honestly, I think Angela and Tenzin can probably appreciate it's not us as campus, it is the business. It is rallying the business and getting the support and the resources and all that kind of stuff. So even just knowing it's in the works and it's being planned would be helpful, because then we can start to get the ball rolling on our side. Because I know Loblaw is notorious for a lot of last minute things. So I will call that out right away.
Okay, so Michelle's looking for a term. Angela, Tenzin, bit more time. A term seems reasonable.
I echo that. So just to give everyone like real timelines, when we plan for fall recruiting, which I know is a really big cycle for everybody, I start my calendar in June.
Okay.
Probably end of May, June. Like I need to know, to Michelle's point, I need to rally the people to go. And it is hard sometimes. And so giving us the time to ensure that we can go and participate and collaborate with you, more time better. And I agree with Michelle, just give me potential weeks. I'm looking at these days for, events. This is probably where it's going to be, just general things. And then we can really finalize the details closer to it.
Perfect. Tenzin, term work for you?
Yeah.
Longer
Yeah.
term?
Yeah. Earlier the better. And then maybe to throw it back out is students will miss that window of opportunity if we don't get that notification early, or we get it too late, because the information can't be shared back out to the schools, and that's the worst, right? Student comes to you and says, I'm interested in this term, but sorry, we've gone out to market already.
Yeah. And the good thing for us as post-secondaries is a lot of you have event pages of where you're going to be. So the more organized we are at knowing our dates, I can go on to the KPMG event website and say, oh, you're going to be at Dalhousie for this particular event. So a student that may be interested in a particular company is getting educated that there's actually an opportunity on that particular campus to engage with them. So certainly a term in advance seems more than reasonable to me. So you've heard it here. How about some advice for students to best present their resumes to work within an applicant tracking system? I know you've all seen resumes before of a student from somewhere, and you're like, this is going to get lost in the ATS. Maybe it's using columns is probably something that's going on. What other advice are you giving students to make sure that their documents are going to be able to parse into that ATS? See, this is when it's fun. I hit them with questions they don't know that's coming in, so I make them think.
Yeah, I'll
Tenzin?
start off. What I tell the students and told the fine students at Dalhousie last week, make it easy for the recruiters to read your resume. And what I mean by that is make sure all the pertinent information is there that markets the student, and not a generic piece of item. Whether when we get down to it, we're looking at a large set of data, and the data is resume, and we want it. And if we want to look through that quickly, we want it in a certain format, top to bottom. Education up top. That's our preferred method. I would like to know when the student's graduating, right? I don't want to get a second guess whether they have an internship opportunity or not. And really highlighting their achievements and the value they added to those jobs that's on their resume. I want to know you. I don't want to know the job or the duties of the job, but I'd rather know what you've been able to provide to that job that stands you apart from the next student.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michelle or Angela?
Yeah, I feel like I'm going back to my career educator days and really resonate what Tenzin said. Like, I think as an undergraduate student, your resume should be one page, right? Really talk about the impact. How can we quantify your results? And then I think from a KPMG perspective, we do look at the pre-application questions, the pre-screen questions. So before they submit their resume and their cover letter, et cetera, we do ask certain questions. And so it's a bit of a test of like, did you read the job posting? Because there's a little bit of that comparison. So my advice to all the students, read the job posting. Like we do share, like, when are we looking for it? What's the team? How can you implement that into your application package? And how do you answer the questions?
So it's important to customize any cover letter. And if I'm applying to an organization where there's screening questions of some sort, understand what I'm applying for and just don't throw in generic stuff. Really give why I'm passionate about this particular, or why I'm interested about this particular role and stuff like that, because you're looking at that information.
Mhm.
Great.
I'll just add, Robert, so again, less about campus, but just general best practice with ATS because I see it from my broader talent team. So Tenzin talked about being very simple, absolutely. And I know we tell students, the skill piece to make sure that it's in the resume. So our ATS system will pull those things, right? So if you're referencing and I tell students this all the time, if you've used a particular platform or tool or something like that, that should be in your resume. You need to make mention of it so that the ATS can pick up on it. I know students will try to find ways to put those words multiple times in a resume. So it's not about kind of like, tricking the system, but it is important that you're putting those things in there, right, to make sure that it does get picked up. But again, that's not so much campus. We don't use the ATS to screen out. We look at all resumes. Oh, sorry, my room's turning off. But that's just the important thing about the ATS, right? It will scan, it will parse out those skills. So they should be in the resume.
Okay, I'm going to attempt to combine two questions here. And it's about, one question was about how have hiring numbers changed over the years for the different lines of business that you support? And then how is your team approaching hiring for 2026? Are you seeing growth, stability, or reduction in headcounts? And I'll bound the question in terms of in the early talent space, co-ops, internships, and new grad hires, because that's who this community is. So are we growing? Are we stable? Are we contracting? They all want to answer this question first. Angela unmuted, so I'm going to go to her.
Yeah, I would say we will never stop hiring from campus. I think it's really important to ensure that we have young talent coming through in the organization. We really need that in our business. I would say that things feel stable for me. 2026 is just about to begin in a couple months, so we'll see. But yeah, like I know there's a lot of economic type of comments, and I just see some questions in the chat about, what does that mean with our unemployment rate? But I feel stable, and we're still doing the work that we've been doing for the past couple of years.
And Angela, you're supporting, when you were supporting, it was like upwards of 30 offices, was it?
20.
Like 20. So
Yeah.
like a large,
Yeah.
a large geographic
Yeah.
that you're supporting there.
Correct.
Okay, Tenzin, you have you're known as one of the larger hires of early talent. I think at one point I was told it was like 1,500 students in a summer term, that type of stuff. RBC is a bit of a powerhouse. How are things looking for you?
Yeah, just consistent. Doesn't look like there is going to be any change, and then consistent in the last few summers as well. One which I'm happy for, but one change that I'm sort of seeing, and maybe this trend is there's more people interested in early talent or wanting to be participating in early talent. And I seeing that from the businesses. They're asking those questions. They're saying, hey, how come that guy's doing it or that team's doing it? And we want to be in that early talent space as well. So that is good news. And we as an organization are looking at more conversions, right? Conversions of the talent. In the past, we brought in many students, but we were not doing a good job at conversions, but we're doing that. And so again, just to the audience here, the importance of having that internship component with the programs that they have for their students, because some of those specialized master's programs that have the internship, I'm happy to engage with it. But when the internship is not available, and then they fall outside of that early talent space because now they go into a new graduate space and we don't have as many of those new graduate space. And if we're going to do more conversions, I don't see the appetite on that other end. Right.
So that's great news to hear that more people are seeing the impacts of early talent in your organization, Tenzin, which means more opportunities for students. So really pleased to hear that. Our last question that I skipped over had to do with conversion. And since you said the word conversion, I will point out for our audience, RBC is looking more intentionally at conversion. I certainly know from my lived experience of a father of a KPMGer, KPMG does conversion and pays attention to that. And Angela's nodding away. And Michelle said, earlier on in the conversation today that, the co-op program was very important to identify new early talent for post-grad opportunities. So I think for our three guests today, for these organizations, conversion of students from a WIL program is still highly important. That's what I'm seeing here. Any other comments in terms of No, I think we hit it well. Let me find another question here. Had the question come up about organizations communicating with schools. So in the past, some schools, one school here indicates that they used to be more proactive in informing schools that postings were coming out. And for some companies, that seems to not happen as much anymore, and that the school is indicating that they're, you know, trying to do the best they can, monitoring many, many different sites. Was this intentional? Was it a misstep? You know, what is your practice in educating the post-secondaries that there are opportunities available for the upcoming term that you're recruiting co-ops and interns?
I can start. I don't know who asked that question, so I'm sorry that was your experience.
Durham
But
College.
yeah, with KPMG, we have like obviously our whole list of school partners, and we send it to everybody. So from a KPMG practice, we still do that. We send the email, and it's usually if let's say our postings go up like late August, we probably send it a couple weeks in advance to be like, hey, like these are our timelines. Do you have any concerns? Job postings will come up, and then the job posting email will follow with an Excel with all of our links. So we still do that with the 20 offices that I did manage. So that's my experience. So it doesn't differ really from what you said.
Michelle or Tenzin?
Yeah, I will admit Angela, that is the same practice we try to do each term. I know like we had some changes going into 2025. So I will take that if that's partly something that, you know, was Loblaw used to do and not do. I will say though, I do encourage our campus partners too. So we do have some social media accounts, like we do have Instagram, and I guarantee you that that's where we will definitely be posting those notices. So, and we encourage the schools to follow that, the most updated information. We try definitely to have those lists and Excel lists and everything to go out. But I will, you know, life happens, and I will take that that it doesn't necessarily maybe has been as consistent as it was. But that's definitely some good feedback for us to take back. But definitely social media, you will hear it and see it when we have those job postings up, which tend to be very cyclical, right? Like we do follow that academic timeline. So we post, you know, pretty much every 4 months in advance.
If you're not following Loblaw's early career Instagram account, do yourself a favor and do it. They had a great tied into the marketing of their no-name brand and so on, and it was it was very well done, Michelle. So anyone supporting marketing students or something, if you want to see some fun use of social media to tie into an organizational goal, I thought that was really kudos to whoever did that creative, Michelle. It was very well done.
Awesome. Thanks, Robert.
Yeah. Okay, we'll take, we don't have time to take any more questions because we are at, I see Jenny shaking her head slightly, it at 1:58 Halifax time, which is 12:58 in the center of Canada and almost 10 a.m. on our beautiful West Coast. This has been an incredibly enjoyable experience. We definitely had some new points of view that came out that we didn't see in Hamilton, and I just want to give a round of applause to Angela, Tenzin, and Michelle for spending an hour with us today. We had a pre-call the week before and so on. And it's just, I mean, this is the value of the Seawolf community where we can connect different practitioners and different people working in the space of working integrated learning and early careers for knowledge sharing. So thank you so much for spending an hour with us today. Thank you to Seawolf for affording us the opportunity. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Robert.
Everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jenny.
Robert.
Thanks,
Have a great
everyone.
day.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.